Hey everyone, Sarah Pacaro. Today we're going to be talking about covert narcissism. So, if you have a narcissist in your life, you may have been doing some research because you're trying to figure out what is going on, why you feel like you're the one that's psycho, like you're the one that's going crazy, because you've been gaslit and made to believe that it is you that is the problem and are feeling most likely like a shell of yourself. And you're trying to identify. Perhaps you know the narcissist in your life, or you just know that that person in your life, something's totally off, and you're researching about narcissism and you're coming up with different types, right? There's the malignant, there's the covert. But how do I know which one they are? Maybe they're both. I don't know. So this video will help you identify the covert narcissist in your life. Think about it like a checklist. We're going to go through 52 things, 52 ways to identify that someone is a covert narcissist. So just imagine this like a checklist. And perhaps if you want to grab a piece of paper and a pen and go, yep, 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 and then count your checks after that and just see how many of them this person checks, then go for it. You can pause the video right now and you go grab yourself a piece of paper and a pen, because this video will go over a checklist to help you identify the covert narcissist in your life. So I imagine you already have this person in mind. Perhaps it's your spouse, perhaps it's a boyfriend, perhaps a girlfriend, perhaps a parent, perhaps a friend, a boss, whoever it is, and you're trying to figure them out because perhaps you can't go no contact with them, depending on the situation, or you're just trying to get a better understanding of this relationship, of this type of personality disorder, because the flamboyance of a overt narcissist, I've had both in my past, covert and an overt. The overt one, completely flamboyant, and that flamboyancy makes them really easy to identify. But what about the covert narcissist in your life? Covert and very stealth one, the one that seems to fly under the radar. Recognizing a covert personality trait requires looking beyond the obvious. It requires looking beyond the obvious appearance, past common assumptions, past expectations. And for this reason, covert narcissism is more difficult to spot. It's more difficult to identify. The past covert narcissist in my life was a much longer relationship, about twice the length of time as the overt narcissist, because it can take years and years and years to recognize it in someone that you think you know well. And in fact, I didn't recognize it at all until I got out of that relationship with the covert narcissist and immediately jumped into a relationship with an overt narcissist. And in my mind, I thought, wow, these two people are so different from one another. And it wasn't until I experienced the malignant overt narcissist that somebody sent me a video and said, Sarah, you're with a narcissist, and this is what it means, and this is what it's like if you decide to stay. Because I was so on the fence and so in my mind, do I stay, do I leave? I don't know. I think I love this person, and he keeps telling me he's going to fix himself and he understands and he's going to change and he's going to get help and go to counseling and therapy. All lies, all part of the gaslighting, the manipulation. So the good news is, once you become aware of the patterns and the signs of covert narcissism, you are not likely to miss those signs again, right? So that's what this video is about, is to inform you and help you identify the signs of covert narcissism. So basically, we're giving you a checklist. Like I said, pause the video, go grab yourself a pen and a paper, and just start checking away if these or this person that you feel like you might have in your life. So the more form of covert or pathological narcissism, there is there is a spectrum of it, and this is narcissistic personality disorder. This video is not designed to identify or say that anyone is, right? But it's just to help you become aware of the traits and the qualities that the person with this type of personality will possess. So it's not expressed in the same way in every individual. So understand that and know that, but there are typical patterns that are very, very common. And this video is going to go over those common patterns and traits. Most of the attitudes, most of the behaviors in a person that you know, you're probably dealing with someone who suffers and makes others suffer with covert narcissism. So let's go through them. The first one, number one, passive aggressiveness. They use this as their number one manipulation tactic and technique. They will make comments. They will even make facial gestures, tones to show their discern and disdain that are very, very passive aggressive. They don't even have to do anything. Perhaps it's the way they slam or shut the door or the car door, or just make even comments without even having to use words to express their tones. They're very passive aggressive, and you'll notice that that's their number one manipulation tactic and technique, because when they do something that is passive aggressive, it immediately gets you to question and wonder, what was that about? What did I do? Right? Takes the responsibility and takes the focus off of them and puts it onto you, as if there's something that you did wrong that made them respond, react, or treat you in that way. So number one is passive aggressiveness. If you know that this person in your life is very passive aggressive, you're starting to pick up on it and see it, just know that that's the number one sign. The next one is that they criticize and they judge from the sidelines. They're on the stands, but they're criticizing the people who are playing on the court and taking action. So they criticize and judge from the sidelines. But if you say, well, why don't you get in there and do it then? If you can do it so much better, rage, right? But they are constantly sitting on the sidelines and criticizing and judging, but never putting themselves in the arena, if that analogy makes sense. So you'll find that that is another sure sign and key sign that someone possibly is a narcissist. Like I said, I don't go around diagnosing, but that's a very, very prominent thing that they'll do. They have a sense of superiority and a sense of like poisonous. You kind of feel like they seem like they're on this pedestal all the time. And it's like, who put you on that pedestal? Well, they put themselves on that pedestal. They seem to have this air of superiority and like they're better than everybody else. And you're thinking, well, how is that true? Right? I mean, what is it that you've done that's so much better? Yeah, you've done some things, but it doesn't make you better than that person. They're threatened by honesty and they're threatened by directness. So when you show up and you are honest with them, you'll notice it causes conflict. They're threatened by that. And when you're very direct with them and you don't sugarcoat or you don't go around things or don't try to go under things, that changes the dynamic and the energy and the engagement with them, because they're threatened by honesty and they're threatened by directness. They perceive it as a threat, and then they will act according to that perceived threat. You'll notice that they swing almost like a pendulum between idolizing themselves and then devaluing themselves and others. And the reason why they do this is they will get you to feel bad for them, right? When they idolize themselves, oh, I'm so great at this, I'm so great at, oh, I'm not so great at that. And they get you to go, what do you mean? Yes, you are. You're the best person I know that can do that. Stop. Yes, you are. Look at how amazing you are. Look at all of these amazing and wonderful things that you've done. And they will do that. And it's like, why is this person who feels so highly about themselves all of a sudden saying that they're not this or not that? So they'll swing between idolizing themselves and then devaluing themselves and others. And then they will always deny and dismiss others' feelings. And this is another form of manipulation and gaslighting. They will deny and dismiss others' feelings. And they will tell them, come on, you don't feel that way. Really? You're going to sit there and say that? And you're thinking, well, yeah, of course, like this just happened. This was an example, perhaps a silly example, but a very real one for me at that time, when a dog that we had passed away. And I was a mess. I was a wreck for days. And one day later he would go, really? Like you're still talking about that? And it was like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, this dog like meant everything to me. This was prior to having my daughter. And so the dog felt like my child, my little four-legged child, but they will deny and dismiss other people's feelings as if they don't have the right to feel those feelings or express those feelings. Another thing they do, this is a really, really big one, is they'll cultivate a public image sharply different from who they are in private. So in public, they're one way, and everyone seems to have this perception of them that they are credible, they are amazing. Everyone wants to be like that person. They just seem to have it all and seem to be just so holy, holier than thou. And then in their private life, in their private behavior behind closed doors, Holy Hell, are they a different person behind closed doors? When you walk into that door and it slams shut, different person, and you're thinking, how does it feel, like so Heckle and Hyde, and sorry, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but the person that other people see is not who you know that person to be. So public image sharply different from who that person is in private. And that's tough, because then you feel isolated and alone, like you can't talk to anyone about what's really going on, because they will say, what are you talking about? That person is this and that and that. I don't see what you're talking about. You must be lying. And then you feel that you have no one to talk to, no one who understands, no one who gets it. They will also identify as a victim. I remember the covert narcissist in my life in the past would always be a victim in things, would always, all this stuff would happen to him. And he would go to the point of like getting medical appointments and having doctors like begin to treat him for certain things that weren't actually true, weren't actually there, and try and enroll other people in this sob story and getting them to feel bad for him and do things for him. And he was always the victim. Right. I remember getting in a car accident that we were going, I don't know, less than 20 miles an hour, not a bad one at all, like less than $5,000 damage. And him immediately having like severe permanent spine damage, and getting to the point where he kind of pushed the doctor into saying, don't you think I'm going to have like my spine fused together and get these injections the rest of my life? All because he was trying to get more money out of the insurance claim that he built up to be this massive case that went on for years and found its way in court. They will go to great lengths to identify as a victim and wear that badge of victim mentality so that they can use, abuse, and manipulate and get what they want. The next one you'll notice is they're very sarcastic, they're very haughty, and they're very cynical. And you'll see this in many of their actions and many of their behaviors. They will make unreasonable demands. And you'll think, okay. And you, as a person with them, will go to great lengths to try and achieve that and try and fulfill that demand. I mean, you'll go to the ends of the earth, right? You love this person, you would do anything for them, but they will make unreasonable demands. And then right after you have fulfilled one, boom, there's another. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, really? When is it ever going to be good enough? Like, when are you ever going to be satisfied or happy or content? They will constantly make unreasonable demands, and they don't care who it impacts or influences you. They don't care, that you're put out, whether it's financially, emotionally, physically, whether you're isolated or taken away from your career, from your family, from your friends. They don't care. They will continue to throw out these unreasonable demands. And then when you tell them and you express, God, I'm tired. And can't we just do this instead? Right? And then go back to identifying as a victim. And it's just crazy making. But that's one of the things that they'll do. They will turn your problems into his or her dramas. So because you're out there saying this and you have this tiny problem, it's just so dramatic about it. And oh my gosh, and you're never satisfied. And look at all this stuff I have to do with you or for you. They will turn your problems into their dramas. They're always looking for drama to create because it pulls that attention towards them. And then they can stay in that victim mentality and continue to use and abuse. And they will belittle and they will blame. They will belittle and blame you. They will belittle and blame your friends, your family, their friends, their family. They will belittle and blame neighbors, people in the community. It's anyone else's fault, but never their own. And they will belittle and blame everyone and everything. Then they will exploit. They will exploit and they will attack others' vulnerability. So narcissists will study. They will study their victims. They will study the people in their lives, and they will understand and begin to learn about those perceived weaknesses and vulnerabilities, and they will exploit them and they will attack them. It seems like they just know exactly where to go because they do. And they see that and they know it, and then they exploit it. And that's the smear campaign. And that is everything that you feel like, wow, I told you that in private and secrecy. And you're just out there like spreading it and smearing it everywhere. And they will do that. And they will exploit or attack your vulnerability. They get very, very reactive to any kind of questioning, any kind of criticism. They just become immediately reactive to it. You may feel at this point that you're the narcissist because you do too, because you're reacting to abuse. It's called a reactive abuse. But the narcissist is always reactive to questioning, to criticizing, and perhaps it's something small or simple, like, why would you do it that way? Did you read the directions? The directions say to do this. Perhaps you're putting something together. And they're like, oh, really? So you're saying I'm an idiot? I can't figure this out on my own? Those directions are for people who don't know what they're doing. I know what I'm doing. And you're like, whoa, it just seems like you're really frustrated by it. I just thought that possibly looking at the directions would help. And then boom, it blows up. And you're just questioning, but they take it as a perceived criticism, as a perceived like threat to their little egos, and then they react to that. And then they will play on sympathies. You'll notice this. Any kind of sympathy that they get, they will play on it, and they will take it, magnify to it, and they'll play on all these sympathies. They're very fake. This is a crazy one, you guys. They will fake or exaggerate illnesses or injury for attention. Back to that example that I used when I was in the car accident, and it wasn't even, I'm going to name it a fender bender because it wasn't really a car accident. I was fine. But then I found out years later I was in a lawsuit, and it was like, wow, even after I had divorced that narcissist and that narcissist had remarried, I was still getting letters from lawyers that this case was going on. I never even once saw a doctor or a chiropractor. And it's like, how was this person sitting 2 feet away from me having such an extreme and different reaction? But they will do that. They will fake or exaggerate illness or injury for attention. And this person in this case lied because it actually was connected to another injury, something completely outside of that fender bender, but was trying to attach it to that so that they could get hopefully a large amount of money from suing and going through insurances and stuff like that. They don't have morals or values. They will do that, and they will fake or exaggerate illnesses or injury for attention. Perhaps it's something like that where they hope to get money out of it. Perhaps it's something smaller or different, but that's what they'll do. They will withhold and stonewall. So withholding, they will withhold love, affection, attention, connection, money. They will withhold things that you need, things that you want, and they will stonewall you. I have another video that explains about stonewalling, and I imagine if you're looking into the definition of things that narcissists do, you've come across that. But basically, they're just building up the stone wall, keep you out and everything you want and need away from you. So they will withhold, they will stonewall. With every narcissist, they will gaslight. Gaslighting is getting you to question your reality, what you know to be true, getting you to question it. And they will say this with words, phrases, tones, and get you to feel like what you know happened didn't happen, or didn't happen like that, or they didn't mean for it to happen. Look at you. Why would you do that? Right? So they get you to question your reality through gaslighting. They will avoid introspection and lack of self-awareness. Oh, I don't know. Sorry, not my fault. I didn't know I was doing that to you. Well, really? So they will avoid introspection. They will never reflect it inwardly and turn it around and turn it inward and go, oh my gosh, right. I do that. I am so sorry I do that. And if they do, that's not the truth. They really haven't gone inward and really come to this awareness because they lack self-awareness. And everything else is everyone else's fault. And they will use platitudes in place of genuine insight. And what that means is just kind of like the last one. They will just kind of platitude over things, just kind of nonchalant, right? They will never genuinely take a look within themselves and gain any kind of insight. I've known some covert narcissists who are into yoga, and most people have this perception that yogis are very introspective people, but they will utilize things like that, an environment like that, so that other people have this perception that they're so insightful, that they're so like, but they lack it. And they use that as a breeding ground to gain more external validation and attention. And they will deny their own anger. Anytime the narcissist will react in anger, and then you ask them about that, they will deny it. I didn't get angry. No, I mean, I respond, yeah, of course I was upset, but you're telling me I reacted like that. That's not the way it was at all. And again, that's gaslighting, but they will deny their own anger and then they will turn it around and say, well, look at what you did. You're the one with the anger problem. And they will focus on unfairness and injustice. So they will say, well, look at you. Really? I mean, yeah, of course I got upset, but who wouldn't get upset when someone did that to them, just like how you did to me? I mean, I could have got a lot more angry, but I didn't. And then they will focus on unfairness. But here you are yelling at me now. And what am I supposed to do? Look at that. How am I supposed to deal with this when you do that? And they'll focus on that. They'll focus on the unfairness of it and the injustice. And they're very, very envious and they're very vengeful. And they will go to great lengths to try and get that out. So they're envious. They're kind of like the Joneses, right? If the neighbor comes home with a new BMW or Range Rover, they're going to come home with the newer model because inside their egos are so fragile and they will do anything to protect that ego. And that ego is full of envy and full of vengeance. And you will notice it feels like they're always out to get you, or they're always out to get other people. And perhaps you are trying to figure out why, because that's just not who you are, but that is who the covert narcissist is. And they prefer, oftentimes, because they're covert, they prefer to remain behind the scenes and they prefer not really to be in the spotlight. They can come off as shy or introverted, and they kind of remain behind the scenes, behind the curtain, if you will. And they will gossip, they will triangulate. They love like stirring up and creating drama. They love gossiping. They love triangulating, getting two other people against you and using those two people to get what they want, and then sitting back and kind of watching all this chaos that they've just created. And they will hold a grudge. They never ever ever forget anything. You will notice a covert narcissist will always remember, will always bring up stuff from the past, like from years ago, and you will think, wow, we talked about that. I thought we worked through that. I thought we let that go. And all of a sudden, here it is. And they hold this grudge against you, and then they constantly hold that against you and make you wrong for it. Even if they tell you that they've moved on and they've forgiven you for it, they haven't. Covert narcissists are experts at holding grudges and they constantly need reassurance. I remember the last covert narcissist in my life needed reassurance. Like if I was going to go out with friends or go do anything, outside of the relationship without him, which is perfectly normal and healthy in any relationship, it was like, well, what, so you don't love me anymore? So I'm not invited? Well, what am I supposed to do? And they constantly need reassurance that they're the one and you love them and you're coming home to them and all this stuff, even though in your mind you're like, duh, of course, perhaps you're married to that person and you're not out to cheat. You just want to go out to dinner with your girlfriends, right? Or go to a movie with them. But they need reassurance constantly. They're very, very inattentive and annoyed when others talk. You'll notice the covert narcissist when other people are talking or, oh, yeah, I'm listening. And you're thinking, well, do I just annoy you all the time? I remember family coming to visit when I was with the covert narcissist, and my family would ask that, does he not like us? I mean, is he annoyed by us? Did I do something to upset or frustrate or hurt him? And I would say, no, not that I know of, not from my perspective. But they're very, very inattentive and annoyed when others are talking, when others have the seat, when others are in the spotlight. They want nothing to do with it. And they have double standards. It is perfectly fine if they go do something, but if you go do that very same thing, it is absolutely not okay. You will notice they have all these double standards, and you're thinking, why did these rules apply for you? But then when I go do that, they don't apply here. And they're just constantly living in a space of double standards, and they hate to lose. They absolutely, absolutely hate to lose. And they will sometimes tell you, I will not lose. I will not. No, I don't lose. And they will go to great lengths to win. And they will diminish and put people down, and they will just seem to plow over people all in the name of being able to win because they hate to lose. And they fixate on others' problems. They fixate on other people's problems and other people's misfortunes. You may not be like that naturally, but they are. And they fixate, well, look at all these things that they did wrong. How unfortunate that they this, but and that's what they fixate on. They don't fixate on the good things about other people. They fixate on the perceived bad things about other people, their misfortunes and their problems. But they like to flatter and they like to fawn to win favor. So what fawning is people pleasing, codependency, trying to fix or please others. So it is a trauma response, and they will flatter and they will fawn to win favor. So they, again, will get this image that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're so nice, they're so kind, they're so caring, they're so compassionate, sort of loving, but it's all fake. They do that just to win favor, just to get people on their side or on their team. And then in private, they will display rage and they will display contempt. And you're thinking, what just happened? We were just out there experiencing that, and you were just so great and so kind and so nice. And now in private, you're just full of rage and you're full of contempt, you're full of disdain. I don't get it. And you find that you're constantly like in a state of confusion and chaos. That's the number one sign of abuse is confusion. If you're confused, there is abuse. And perhaps it's not physical, but I can guarantee you almost always it's mental, emotional, spiritual, and generally financial. And they will resist decision making. They will put it on you. That way they can make you wrong when they don't like the decision you make. And if you ask them, hey, I remember this in the past. Hey, I want to plan a vacation. I want to go somewhere. Would you like to go here? Yeah, wherever. It's up to you. Seemingly nice. And then when you say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and start to plan it. Oh, you really want to go there? And you're like, well, I don't care. I'm kind of up for anything. What do you want? Well, I don't know. And they resist decision making. And then of course this most of the time leads to arguments, and even if after an argument they apologize, it's never sincere. They do not sincerely apologize. You can tell and you can feel when an apology is sincere, but a covert narcissist will not ever sincerely apologize, all because they're avoiding direct responsibility. So if they sincerely apologize, the best apology is change behavior, but they never feel the need to change their behavior, so they avoid direct responsibility. They will put that responsibility onto you or onto others and completely avoid it. So why is there a reason for a sincere apology? Because in their eyes, they never did anything wrong, because they never had to take responsibility for it and be put in a position where they had to be wrong. So they will have an exaggerated sense of entitlement. You will notice this experience with a covert narcissist. It just seems like they just feel like they should have everything that they want and it should just come easy to them. It's a grandiose and exaggerated sense of entitlement. And they're impressed by, if they ever do run into an overt narcissist, they're very impressed by this overt narcissist's appearance of confidence. They're jealous about that confidence and they want that type of confidence, but they just have a different type of personality. And so they're very impressed by these other people, perhaps people that you're disgusted by, and you're just, oh gosh, that person was horrible. I couldn't stand being around that person. And the covert narcissist will say things like, actually, I thought they were great. They were this and they were that and they were that. And they seem to be really impressed by overt narcissists' appearance of confidence. Remember, it's a false sense of confidence, but the covert narcissist will be like, what? So impressed by this overt narcissist appearance of confidence. With all kinds of narcissists, the covert is no different. They lack emotional empathy. That's the number one thing that makes a narcissist is that they lack emotional empathy. And they focus on appearance over substance. So this showed up in the last covert narcissist in my life. Everything on the outside had to look prim, polished, and perfect. It was the house, it was the cars, it was the style of clothes, it was the shoes. Everything was about appearance over substance. I mean, it wasn't like you're going out and getting really, really high quality stuff. A lot of it was low quality stuff, but it had the appearance that it was high quality, right? Even down to like the style of hair, the type of clothing. They will go out and get something that's low quality, but have this appearance that it's high quality, right? Because they focus on appearance over substance. Why does it matter if you got this shirt at Goodwill and it was $2, right? Well, to them, that's disgusting, and it does matter because, ew. So they're going to focus on appearance over substance all the time. And they rush into false intimacy. I remember the covert narcissist I mean, we were pretty physical and intimate right away, and it felt forced and it felt rushed. But you were made to believe that it was intimacy and that it was love. True love is never forced, and real love is never rushed. But they will rush into this false intimacy. They will want to get married and they will want to move in really quickly and right away. And they're anxious and they're hyper vigilant. You'll notice this as well. And it's like they never ever uh, are settled. They're never content. They're always on edge, and you pick up on this, and as the person with them, you're experiencing a fawning trauma response. You want to fix, you want to change, you want to please them so that they can just calm down and enjoy being present with you the way that you want to enjoy being present with them. And they will display false humility and have humble brags. You'll notice that they're always talking about past wins, past, times that they won championships in whatever sport that they were playing or whatever it was. And they will focus on that. They will focus on false humility. Oh my gosh, I remember this one time. It was so embarrassing. You wouldn't believe what happened. And then they go on to tell the story, and you're thinking, well, what's wrong with that? That's not that bad. I mean, I've done that too. There's a lot of people I know that have done that, but it's this false humility and this humble brag, but then this happened, and I was able to go to this. It was all fine. It was fine. Oh, you wouldn't believe how embarrassing it was. And you're thinking, that's like normal. What do you mean? Right? So that's another thing they will do. Another thing they will do as well is they will cross normative boundaries and codes of conduct. They do not have morals, ethics, values, or standards that they live by. They have their own, and their own just say cheat, win, lie, steal. Cheat, win, lie, steal. They don't live by these normative boundaries. Normal people, most people would not ever do that because it's ethically and morally wrong. Well, the covert narcissist goes to that, right? I'm going to do what I'm going to do because I want to do it. So you will notice that they don't live by the same morals and values and codes of ethics that you do. And you may be confused by that and question and wonder, how would someone do that? I would never do something like that. And this person does. And you'll notice they're always poking, prodding, they're always prying, and they're just like, stop. Why do you do that? Stop it. You know that I hate when you do that. And they never seem to stop, even though they know that you hate it. And they're always poking you and prodding you and just prying at you. Hey, 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 hey. And it's like, I told you I just wanted some time or some space. I needed an hour to complete this and get this done. And they'll constantly interrupt, poke, pry, and prod. And you'll notice that they feel special through association. Other people perhaps may not feel like they're so special. It just depends, right? Like I said, there's a whole paradigm in Ray and everyone's different. But if they can name drop, if they can say, well, I know this person and I know this person and I'm with them, so I'm special. I'm special through this association, this connection with other people. They will use those people to name drop so that they get a sense of feeling special through the association and connection with those people. This kind of shows up in the workplace quite often. And they feel always, just like overt narcissists as well, they feel above the rules. Well, the rules, those apply to everyone else, but me, I mean, I'm just so special that those rules don't apply to me. So they feel that they're above the rules. And when they are punishing, they will use shame and guilt to control and punish. And so you always feel a sense of shame and guilt, and you seem to carry that. You carry your own guilt and shame, and then you're carrying theirs because they don't want to carry it. They're not responsible for it. And they will use this to control you and to punish you. They will use guilt and they will use shame in the way that they say things or the way that they do things that make you feel guilty that you didn't pull enough weight. I remember this constant conversation about how much money we both made. And the covert narcissists did really, really well. They oftentimes find themselves in positions where they can use these type of tactics to manipulate and abuse people. So sales is a area that a lot of them take up their jobs and careers in. And they would use shame and guilt to control and punish, right? Well, if you don't do this now, what's that? And I remember the last covert narcissist making probably 4 or 5 times more the amount of money than I did, and made me feel guilty that in the home I wasn't pulling my weight, that they were pulling so much more weight than I was, and I wasn't contributing as much as they were. So a lot of guilt and a lot of shame to control and punish you. And then they expect caretaking. They expect for you to wait on them hand and foot. And they expect you, like say, for example, you're lying on the couch, they're actually closer to the refrigerator than you are, and they expect you to get up. Hey, will you go grab me a drink? Sure, but you're closer. If you're thirsty, why can't you go get yourself a drink? Well, they expect caretaking. That's why. And the covert narcissist, you'll notice they always ask you to do things for them that they can do themselves. And oftentimes it would be easier and they're closer and you're thinking, you're an adult, I'm not your mom. Why can't you go get your drink? But they expect caretaking. The last two that we'll go over are they will conduct smear campaigns. They will go out, and the overt narcissist will do this as well, but they will conduct smear campaigns. They will go out and they will tell everyone how you wronged them and how you're horrible and all these horrible, nasty, negative things that you did to them, and smear your name and get everyone to turn against you. Friends, family members, community members, and the like. And they are prone. This is an interesting one because I remember watching a lot of documentaries with the last covert narcissist. They're prone to paranoia. They get freaked out. I had the last covert narcissist was like so freaked out about money in the financial system and conspiracy theories. We would watch so many documentaries about these conspiracy theories, and they seem to very, very prone to paranoia and conspiracy theories. Quite funny, but yeah, that is a checklist of all things covert narcissist. So I hope you had your pen and your paper out and you were checking. And let's really quickly, before we end this video, talk about the differences between the overt and the covert narcissist. Like the overt narcissist, the covert narcissist fails to develop emotional empathy, self-awareness, or a stable sense of self-identity and self-esteem in childhood. Both feel defective and cope with underlying insecurities and shame by repressing those feelings, by repressing them and pushing them down and adopting this fake grandiose persona, this delusion of superiority and entitlement. And they constantly will assert that at the expense of others around them. So they're always using people around them, using you, everyone around them, they are using because they perceive other people as objects to just use and throw away and discard when they're done, and then obviously devalue. So although covert narcissists, majority of the time, not always, remember, will majority of the time avoid the spotlight, and they do prefer the passive aggressive means of controlling others, that doesn't necessarily mean because they're introverted. So rather they kind of lack this brash, outwardly overt sense of confidence that the overt narcissists have, and they fear being exposed more so. They fear being exposed and they fear being humiliated if they draw this like massive public attention to themselves. That's why they're covert. It's because they've been conditioned to not compete generally with the domineering overt narcissistic parent. So I've done another video about what happens to children of narcissists, and many times often children of narcissistic parents can become narcissists themselves. So it's unfortunate that the cycle, this generational trauma continues on. So recognizing if you have a covert narcissist in your life, the first step to overcoming or defeating these cycles of confusion, these cycles of anger, guilt, and self-blame and emotional trauma are to recognize it, be aware of it. So I hope that videos like this help you get that checklist. And when you're ready and you're aware of it and you say, I need to do something different, I have to change, I have to remove myself from this, I have to get out. And then I encourage you to really take a deep dive into yourself, into your inner healing and releasing from the self-blame, the guilt, the shame, the frustration, the resentment, the anger. Perhaps you had children with an overt narcissist, and Now you're living with all that and you're finally ready to live free and break free from it, but you don't know how, you're so confused, you don't even know where to start. Then I would love to chat more about hypnosis and about rapid transformational therapy. That is how I work one-on-one with people. So if you want more information about that, you can always find it by clicking on the link in the description below this video, and we can connect and chat more. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed this checklist of 52 traits of the covert narcissist, and I will connect with you guys again very soon.